Do you know that feeling when you have to pick an operator, but you have no clue which one to choose? I had the same problem when I started playing Siege, because I did not know about operators' roles. It's one of the most important things to be aware of if you want to win more consistent. Today, you will learn what the roles are and which are important when playing as a defender. There are 27 defending operators to choose from. To make it easier for yourself to pick one, you can divide them over 7 different roles. We will go over them from the most important ones to ones that are less important. Less important does not mean that they're bad operators. It means they shouldn't be your first choice. Breach denial. The most bomb sites will have an important wall that you want to keep closed. Reinforcing it won't be enough because the enemies will almost always bring in hard breach operator. You can easily counter this with breach denial defenders. Keep in mind, if the enemy spotted you on their drones, they will bring operators to counter you. Which is possible in a lot of different ways. However, if you learn how to bandit, trick, or arcade trick, you can still give the enemies a hard time trying to get the wall open. If you know how to do it correctly, you could even keep it closed for the entire round. Intel. And if someone already took a breach denial operator, you should either take one from this category or the next one. Intel is very important in Siege. A camera on site will make it almost impossible for the enemy team to plant without anyone noticing. Where a cam close to site could tell you where they are pushing from. This is possible with Valkyrie, Mozzie, Echo, and Maestro. Place their gadgets on places hard to spot, but make sure you still see most important entrances or planting spots. Mozzie and Echo can also be used to drone out areas for your roamers. Echo can also be used to stun enemies. If you use this on an attacker trying to plant, his plant will cancel. Maestro is able to hurt enemies with his cams, but his cams are easy to spot and destroy. A lot of attackers will also try to hack them with Brava. So if you want to use him, watch out for the Clutch drones. Pulse, Wisp, and Alibi are also Intel operators. They don't have cams, but they come with their own ability. Pulse is able to see someone's heartbeat through walls. This can be used to check for enemies before entering rooms or check if someone is above you and use in C4 on the ceiling. So this is also capable of vertical play. While using his ability, he can see anyone planting through the wall. He can also see the diffuser when it's on the ground. That's not everything. He can basically see every electronic devices the enemies have. Drones, phones, breach devices, everything. It's basically wall hacks if the enemies use Blitz. Jackal can also be seen when he uses his ability. Alibi is a bit different. She can place clones if an attacker shoots or touches the clones. You will get red pinged. The same will happen if one of their drones or other gadgets hit it. Area denial. This category is just as important as Intel. You want to make it as hard as possible for the attackers to come into sight, while your team still needs to be able to easily rotate. Let's start with Castle. His barricades can block important routes and windows. The biggest mistake that people make when playing Castle is blocking important entrances for your team. Before placing one, you should consider who you are giving an advantage here. For yourself, your teammates, or the enemy. Same goes with a rune. Don't place her gadget in doorways. You have your mates, would probably use a lot. Next up in this category is Myra. With her black mirrors, you're able to hold areas without putting yourself in danger. Combine this with a wall denial operator to make it even better. Another operator, which is very good when you know how to use it, is a zombie. She can block line of sights, create cover anywhere, and can create entrances where you can see the enemy before they can see you. Clash is also one of the operators that will make it hard to enter site. The downside of Clash most of the times is when you are being pushed by multiple attackers without any teammates close, you will lose the fight. The last two of this category are Smoke and Tachanka. They can both keep enemies from entering rooms without having to get out of cover. Anti-intel. I said intel is very important. So is it for the attackers, counter their intel, and they don't know what to attack. This category only has 3 operators. Mute, Solus, and Mozzie. They all counter drones. So is with her ability to see electrical devices, Mute with his jammers, and Mozzie with his pest launcher. When you place their gadgets on the right spot, it will be hard for attackers to get drones on site. In the prep phase, you should try to place their gadgets on routes where the drones will probably come from. This way, you can prevent the enemies from knowing which operators your team is using, which can make it a lot harder for them to make a plan how and where to attack. For example, a mate of yours chose Castle. Normally, the enemies would drone site and know you play within Castle. If they are smart, they will bring some operator that can easily counter this, like a Sledge or an Ash, If the attackers did not see castle on their drone in the prep phase, there will be a much higher chance they choose an operator which can't counter the castle. Now they have to punch it 8 times. What is a good thing for the defenders? Because it will just waste time. Trappers. Most of these operators are very strong, but won't win you rounds. Playing with 5 of these is a guaranteed loss. I would suggest never playing with more than 2 of these. The trappers are Frost, Kapkan, Legion, Ela, Melusi, Thorn, Goyo, and Fenrir. Some traps will do damage, other traps will slow the enemies down or mess with their visuals, but that is not their only purpose because traps will also give some intel. They all make sounds, so if you hear one go off, you know there will be an enemy. If you play Fenrir, you can even see in which room your trap went off. This makes it very easy to give callouts, even when not close. If the attackers have spotted a trap operator, they will pay more attention to it. They will either try to avoid the trap or shoot it. Which is both good. Because it will either waste more time or the enemy has to make a sound by shooting. Support. These operators are very underrated. Because they are able to save lives, which will win you rounds, this category can be put in 2 groups. Group 1 being health operators, Doc Rook and Thunderbird. Doc can heal himself or teammates 3 times with his stim shot. Rook can deploy an armor pack for his team. This will not only give extra health, but also when you lose a gunfight, you will always have the chance to revive yourself. Thunderbird can deploy 3 Icona stations. These are devices placed on the floor that will heal you if you are hurt. After a short cooldown, it will activate again. The second group of this category is anti-projectile. These 2 operators have almost the same ability. They both will catch grenades and other projectiles. Jaeger and Wamai. Jaeger's active defense systems will destroy up to 3 projectiles. The magnet systems from Wamai will pull the projectile towards it and will then self-destruct. Roamers. Roaming can be very important, but if your whole team is doing it, it probably won't work. In most cases, you would want to have at least 1 roamer in your team. The 3 operators that are made to roam are Caveira, Oryx, and Vigil. Of course, you can also roam with other operators, but if you play with these 3 operators, you should always roam, especially the first minute or 2 of the round. Caveira can move soundless through the map, which can make it easy to flank the attackers. Oryx is able to climb hatches, which can also be used to flank the attackers. The ability of Vigil will make him invisible on any intel the attackers have. This category is last because I only included these 3 operators in it. I did not put it at the end because it's not important, but you should first focus on learning how to play on site or close to it. Roaming can definitely be a challenge for new players. If you want me to make a video for this topic, let me know in the comments. Operators left out. As you might have noticed, I did not mention Warden and Tubarão. Warden does not really have a dedicated role. He can be played in many different ways, and with Tubarão, I have not played with myself, so I can't really give any advice yet. What I can tell about him so far is that if he plays together with a good bandit or Kaide, they are capable of keeping every wall closed. When I have mastered him, I will make a video about him in my series, How to Play an Operator. Conclusion on how to pick an operator. This all together is a lot of information. So let's make it easier how to actually choose an operator. First, check if the site you are defending has an important wall to keep closed. If the answer is yes, pick a breach denial operator. Also check for hatches. If there are important ones, pick Cade. If someone already took a breach denial up, you should choose between bringing extra intel or an area denial operator. Choosing both is a good option too. For example, player 1 picks a bandit, player 2 picks Myra, and player 3 chooses Valkyrie. This would be a decent setup. These first 2 or 3 are very important. They are the foundation of your setup. The other 2 or 3 spots can be anything. Just make sure you have at least 1 person roaming. This doesn't have to be one of 3 I mentioned before. This can also be a trapper or a warden. It can basically be any operator with decent speed. If you're going to play without an intel operator, you should choose a trapper. Also, we all have some off days where we can't hit shots, going negative, and just don't seem to bring anything to the match. These matches, you should definitely play support operators, because in Rainbow Six Siege, the most important thing is winning the game. By playing support, you can keep your top fraggers alive, which will win you a lot of rounds, even on off days. Any questions? Feel free to ask them in the comments. If you enjoyed it or learned something, leave a like. Thanks for watching. Peace out.